The veteran line, Semyonov, Dorofeyev, and Petrenko out there for the Soviet Union as the game gets underway here at Maple Leaf Gardens. And from the faceoff, Rob Ramage behind his own net, sending it out along the boards to center ice. And the Soviets take over right away. Ed Olczyk centering the line with Lehman and Osborne for the Leafs as Semyonov hits the line. He is checked at the line by Osborne, and that forced the offside. The goaltender for the Soviet Union tonight will be Andrei Karpin, who started at Dynamo Moscow and then wound up being traded around the Soviet League before returning to Dynamo. 26-year-old, and here's Mark Laforest, who started the year in the minor leagues and now has become almost a mainstay here. He's played more minutes than any other goaltender in Toronto so far this 89-90 season. From the faceoff, Luke Richardson behind his own net, clearing it straight ahead. Olczyk through center ice. He passed for Lehman, but he fails to hit the line and is cleared back. Olczyk back to the defense. Richardson, number 2 for the Leafs, clearing it in. Karpin's out of his net, leaves it behind the net, but he cleared it right onto the stick of Osborne. Osborne with Richardson pitching in along the boards, being checked there also as Dorofeyev, one of the young players. Here's a shot that's wide of the net. A loose puck at the side of the net, and Uden is the one who clears it around to the far boards. Finally, it's control it, and then finally make changes and clear back into the Soviet zone. Out they come. Uden dropping it back to his defense partner, Mikulchik. And at center ice, that's Leonov, who scored 2 goals against Pittsburgh. Now Pearson shooting it off the outside of the post. Wound up going all the way down the ice, hustling back there for the Soviets, but unable to control it was Yashin. Here come the Leafs once again. This is Tom Fergus in front. Here's the shot by Pearson. He scores! Scott Pearson on a pretty two-way break with Tom Fergus setting it up and Pearson going to the backhand.
Soviet defenseman Frolov is going to get caught pinching down, and this will create a 2-on-1 for the Leafs. Fergus just puts the puck across to Pearson. Watch, we catch it right as Pearson just comes across. The play developed just inside the Soviet blue line. Frolov got caught low. So we take a look at young Scott Pearson, who puts the Leafs ahead here 1-0, but the Soviets make a mental mistake at their own blue line and give up a 2-on-1 here early. And the Leafs got to feel pretty good about that. Coming off the fireworks as we look at it looks like an equipment problem here for Karpin, the Soviet netminder.
The old toe strap problem. Scott Pearson is first-round draft choice of the Leafs last year. There we go.
And again, nothing terribly fancy. He just comes across in the backhand, and he almost missed that. He almost lost that puck in the goaltender Karpin's pads. But in the meantime, Soviets give up a 2-on-1 for a big part of the ice right through the neutral zone. And that old exploding toe strap usually happens when the game is close, not in the first shift. But it looks...
Well, you'd say that's a well-worn set of pads there?
I would think so. Those aren't the new lightweight pads by any means, but perhaps he will get a gift of those before he goes back to the Soviet Union. But in the meantime, the Leafs had a pretty explosive third period last night, beating Boston in overtime 7-6. I myself turned the game off when it was 6-2, thought it was over, and woke up this morning to find out that the Leafs had won in overtime.
I think Doug Carpenter said that after the game, we were talking to him this morning, he says if it had been another time, fans would have started to leave the building, but they're beginning to have a little faith in the Toronto offense.
Well, I think, Ron, this club has a good nucleus, and Wendell Clark, how this man goes, the Leafs so go, as they say. He played only 15 games last year with a back problem, and boy, oh boy, when you start fooling around with the back of a young player such as Wendell Clark, the problem with Clark is that he has to be involved to play. And to get to the high level of his intensity, he has to play out there, go-get-'em type style, and that's going to hurt him physically.
Well, last year the Leafs were tied with Quebec for last in goals in the NHL. This year they're in third place overall, and those two young fellas there, Olczyk and Lehman, are as much responsible for that as the return to form, I think, the slow return to form of Wendell Clark. They've got a good offensive team. They have to work on goaltending and defense now.
But they're coming. I think if Carpenter's allowed to establish a system and given some time, He's got some talent in this club.
Speaking of defensemen, that's Tom Kerber is back deep in his own zone. They made a big trade to get him. Clark couldn't handle it. Semak is over the line. And the shot comes in wide of the net from Kovalev. Now in the corner. And the Toronto Maple Leafs moving it to center ice. Marois shooting it in. Goaltender Andre Karpin. There's Clark with some good contact on Glushenkov. Deep inside the zone. Now Curran. Curran sliding it along the boards, but it's intercepted there by Tatarinov, and he gulps it down the ice right on LaForest in the Toronto net. Around behind his own net, Tom Kerber's to Clark, but he's stopped at the line. Semak turning. He took a hit from Clark, and Clark making his presence felt out there as Tatarinov intercepted at center ice, clears it in over the line. This is Lomakin on a backhand and a dangerous shot, but it was stopped as holding his ground on the play was LaForest. Out at center ice once again. Turning with that puck is Mikulchik, and it's called on the offside at the line. So the Toronto Maple Leafs break in front. They lead the game 1-0. Vladimir Yurtsinov. Last year you saw him as the head coach of Dynamo Riga. They promoted him back to Moscow, his home team actually. He played most of his career there, and he's taken over this team, and he's put them in tie for second place in the Soviet League standings. The puck is cleared down the ice into the Soviet zone, and back to get it for the Soviets is number 16, Mikulchuk. He takes a check in there, and finally the puck is hoisted out to center ice where Luke Richardson takes over. Richardson ahead for John Kordic. He shoots it in. Karpin out of the net. He leaves it there for Uden. Uden, one of the young defensemen on this team, and one they think is going to be a terrific hockey player over the years. Varyanov then drops it off. It's cleared ahead through center ice. In deep after that puck is Shashov. And the puck comes to the side of the net where Luke Richardson intercepts it and clears it off the boards. Dave Reed gets it to the line, but not out. And the Leafs will try once again with Richardson. Richardson out through center ice. Puck is cleared down by Reed into the Soviet zone. Varyanov. Varyanov turning in front of his own net. Soviets regrouping as they try to get it through center ice. Petrenko is stopped on the play. Iafrate has got the puck just inside the blue line, but he threw it away inside the line. And out come the Soviets once again, leading the rush is Semyonov. He's got the good moves, and he took the shot. And again, very sharp on the play was LaForest, and the whistle goes. Well, Semyonov, Anatoly Semyonov, was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers. Big fella, 6'2", 190 pounds, and has played with the national team 112 times. It's a lot of hockey on national teams, and of course was part of that 84 and 87.
Well, as we suggested at the top of the show, Ron, that it sounded like Yurtsinov was telling us this team in transition, and teams in transition still need leaders, and he's a leader for their club.
Behind his own net. The Leafs clearing it out as Iafrate was the one who cleared it down the ice. Back to get it for the Soviets is Frolov. He stopped. There's a quick shot by Osborne from the slot, and he just missed the net with it. Took it off the glass. Up center ice now. It's Petrenko. Petrenko on the backhand. Stops up in the corner now. Petrenko, he's trying to set up a screen shot, but Lehman was in the way of that one. Over on the far boards, Olchek reaches for it, and it's Iafrate who brings it out. He clears it to the line. Olchek moving in after that one is dropped. Osborne trying to slide it over to Lehman, and there's going to be a penalty called for hooking on the Soviets. Referee Dan Maruelli making the first call of the game.
Dynamo penalty.
Yuri Bashashov is going to get a 2-minute hooking penalty for pulling down Ed Olchuk here. Olchuk using pretty good strength going through the neutral zone. Players come in off the right. Oh, it was Semenov, I guess. I know he went over. Vlashikov had gone to the bench, and I know Maruelli went over to get him, but maybe that's the designated penalty sitter for the Soviets in the box. But in the meantime, the Leafs go on the power play.
Well, Leonov got it out to center ice. Fergus has it there. Fergus dropping it back to his defense, and Rob Ramage, who supplies so much leadership for this team, sends it to center ice for Francis Getty, clears it in. Carter out of the net, right around the boards, but Ramage keeps it in against the boards. He's controlling it. Back out. Fergus to the point to Ramage. Back to Fergus in the corner. It slides up along the boards where Leonov knocks it down, and bringing it to center ice is Antipov. Antipov turned around on the play. Pearson. Pearson has the goal in the game. They're back to the defense. Now moving ahead with it is Fergus. Fergus with a great move at the line. Getting set. He shoots. He scores! Tom Fergus picking the the corner on Andre Carpenter, the goaltender, who was playing back, I would think, Dave, just a little bit in that crease.
He was, but Tom Fergus is going to catch Tatarinov leaning forward, flat-footed, right here. He's leaning forward, he's flat-footed. There's nobody. Now he's back in the net. He's just going to roof it over the glove hand. Good shot by Fergus, but so we take a look at Tom Fergus. Tom Fergus appreciates Carpenter's system. He thought before any system they had coming out of their end was banging the puck around the boards, and any offensive system was shooting it at the net. So in the meantime, he catches Tatarinov leaning forward, flat-footed, net duck. 2-0 lead.
Power play goal. It came in short order as Semak has got it at center ice now. There's it to the line. Lomakin moving in deep. Lomakin, the center on this big line, and the whistle goes, and we're going to get a tripping penalty called on the Toronto Maple Leafs, who lead this hockey game 2-0. The referee is Dan Maruelli for this game. The linesman, Mike Civic, and Ron Finn.
Daniel Marois, I believe, is going to get a hooking call away from the play for pulling down Komalov. Those are the types of penalties, I'm sure, during the season away from the play where it's really not a factor. The drive coach is crazy. But now we'll see the Soviets. In my impression here, the Soviets have not had the puck enough to show their technical skills.
Well, one thing Coach said earlier today was we'll play our game as long as the Leafs will let us play our game.
Sure.
Obviously, Pittsburgh let them play their game 2 nights ago. The Leafs have been hitting right almost from moment one here. And they have seen that hitting in the physical part of their game produce itself on the scoreboard. Iafrate up along the boards. Iafrate with Reed getting that pass at center ice now. Reed getting around the defense. McColchuk on top of him. And puck wound up going harmlessly behind the net. Now the lead pass. At center ice, it's Kovalev. Kovalev trying to get set in front of the net. Iafrate with a good job reaching around behind him and hooking that puck away, and it's cleared down the ice.
Iafrate using his size and strength, and then people will look at Al Iafrate and drool over that, but and we saw evidence of that pulling down, getting in position, pulling the puck away from the player.
Boris clearing that puck off the board. Shashov is in the corner, gets it out to the blue line. The shot by Frolov, and it's wide of the net. Banged out over the blue line to center ice. Olczyk to Lehman. Lehman had to wait for Frolov to make a play, and then he stripped him of the puck. Out at center ice, they come once again. The Soviets still on the power play as the puck goes to the wing, and Zanarok takes a shot on the far boards. It's cleared to center ice by Gary Lehman and Wojcikov. Wojcikov to Frolov. Frolov tried to get organized, gave it to Zanarok. Zanarok shooting it in. And over to get it is Mark Osborne, but he can't contain it. Soviets in possession again. A weak shot taken by Zanarok that was deflected into the corner. And this is Ramage clearing it down the ice with 15 seconds remaining in the power play. Wojcikov. He threw it up ahead for Varyanov. The line it comes. There's the shot off the shoulder taken by Dorofeyev, and he hangs on as LaForest. And we'll get a face-off deep in the... Oh, you thought he'd wear a yellow bow tie.
In all fairness, two factors, or two personalities were pretty crucial to any advancement in international hockey.
Leafs in forechecking again as the puck is cleared into the corner by Wendell Clark. Clark has made about 4 hits in this game already. Only one way to play this game as far as he's concerned, bad back or not. Here's Clark again, an exhibition game or not. Out to Clark, there he was in front of the net. The puck just deflected away from him when he took a shot there. Dorofeyev now out at center ice. Fine young player. Dorofeyev dropping the puck off. Here's the quick shot taken by Semyonov, and it deflects up into the... Well, it tells you an awful lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I suppose that would mean that somewhere in the averaging, they'll be about the 10th best team in the league. But boy, they can score the goals. They've got that part of their game going. Got to keep them out.
That's right. We'll follow up with an interesting comment from the Soviet coach on how he viewed the Leafs when we get a chance here.
They all saw the game last night. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe a team could come from that far back to win a game. That never happened. Almost never happened in the Soviet Union. Teams get behind, they usually quit, as they say. Leonov out at center ice now, feeding it ahead for Uden. Uden making the rush himself, and he's hauled down from behind. There's a quick shot and a good kick save by goaltender Mark LaForest as Sergei Yashin let that shot go. And I believe we're going to get another penalty.
Rob Ramage, I think Ron is going to get 2 for tripping. He gets beat at the blue line and has to reach in on Uden and pulls him down at the blue line. Uden makes a nice move in the neutral zone. Ramage gets beat, right? He gets beat on the first move and kind of has to reach. Puts a stick in between Uden's legs and pulls him down. The Soviets will go on their second power play. They certainly didn't show an awful lot in their first manpower advantage.
From the face-off, the puck cleared around to Reed, who backhands it down the ice. Back to get it, and falling as he tried to circle the net was Mikulczyk, but covering up for him was Antipov. Back to Mikulczyk. He'll start the rush. Mikulczyk, number 16 for Dynamo Moscow. Hits the line, clears it off on the wing for Antipov, but he failed to get in. And is called for the face-off. Well, there's Antipov, the
oldest member of this Soviet team at 30 years of age, which certainly doesn't seem old, but even in the NHL, a 30-year-old is considered on the long of tooth, as they say. It's interesting as this game gets going. I couldn't help but think as the Yerzinov was talking today, he sounded like he had a lot more skilled team than he had with Riga. But boy, oh boy, we're not seeing a whole lot of evidence of that early here in this hockey game.
Well, their game has been taken away from them, though, hasn't it, David?
Good job by the Leafs.
Yeah, they're ready for this game, to be sure. So here's Lomakin now. He'll try, and he's stripped of the puck. Reed gets it to McIntyre at center ice to Todd Gill, who was trying to move, but the pass was behind him. And so it'll be cleared down harmlessly into the Soviet zone. And the Soviets will try. They're on the power play here, although you never know it. There's a lead pass. Kovalov across the line, but he was ahead of the puck. And so a face-off out in the center ice zone. 17 goals in 26 games for Kovalov last year. He's replaced Svetlov, who has been dropped from this team.
Again, right here, it doesn't look like on the replay, unless he's offside. Yes, I think they caught it.
Right on the
line. Boy, that's awfully close, both ends.
Yeah.
Both ends of that back left skate looked like it might have just caught the line. So it looked close from the first blue line and even closer at the offensive blue line. But in the meantime, the Revs have the power of instant replay.
Tatarinov dropping it back to his defense mate. Cleared up center ice. Long shot. Screen. Tatarinov knocks it down at the blue line. Gets set to find the player who's kind of wasted his career. And there's Lomakin throwing the puck away, and it's cleared down the ice by Olczyk. And Karpin is out of the net. Along the boards. Soviets once again. Center ice, Semak. Semak can't get that return pass. Kovalov will try now. Back to Tatarinov. Tatarinov ahead. Lomakin. Lomakin. That puck tries the rink-wide pass and goes to the far boards now. That is Shenkov taking a shot. It's cleared down the ice by the Leaf defense with 15 seconds remaining in the power play. Lushenkov back to get it. Deep in his own zone. Clears it off the boards. Tatarinov is checked. And Francisketti is there. Up along the boards for Tatarinov. Will fade back into his own zone. They'll try to get organized again, but the power play is over. Done a good job by the Leafs as the Soviets were unable to get underway at all. Zanarek over the line, but it's cleared out to center ice. Francisketti, a good job of knocking down that pass, and he very nearly got loose. Bolshakov finally checked him. It's dropped off. Cheshov takes a shot. That hits Zanarek's leg, and finally it's cleared out to center ice. Bolshakov has got it out there. Number 4, he clears it ahead for a breaking Cheshov, but it was intercepted by the Leafs defense, and Iafredi's got it. Iafredi has checked on the play. Back come the Soviets with Varyanov trying to throw it into the slot for Shashov, number 20, and he was chased off the puck. Now the Leafs again with Todd Gill. Gill out there working with Kordic and Pearson. Pearson has one of the goals. It's cleared all the way down the ice. Bolshakov behind his own net and winds up out at center ice for Rob Ramage to Gill. Gill knocked it down. Tried to unload it to the wing where Pearson was, but the Soviets again intercept, and it's cleared down the ice. Racing after it is Semyonov, out of the net, and dangerously so. It's finally kicked into the corner, and Kordic's got it. Kordic to Fergus. Fergus, as the Leafs complete a change, gives it back to Ramage. Ramage just golfs it into the Soviet zone. Fergus after it. Fergus bring it behind the net. Uden is back there. He's checked on the play. There's a quick shot. That one taken right at the side of the net, and then they kicked right out. Fergus tried to get it. Pearson had that good chance right at the side of the net. Fergus gets it again. Fergus circling deep and just clears it into the corner. Pearson's back there to get it. Pearson behind the net for Marois. Marois one-hands it into the slot area, but Fergus couldn't control it under the checking, and Dorofeyev, number 10, turns with it. Igor Dorofeyev, the center ice, a good move, but then the second move didn't work. As it's stripped away from him, right back on that foot. Now it's Ramage. Ramage shooting it into the corner. Luke Richardson trying to track it down. The Soviets move in on it, but Richardson reached for it again, only to have it stripped away from him again. Wendell Clark clears it around behind the net. Leonov, number 23, can't get it out, and here's Wendell Clark trying to break free. He stops. Semyonov then turns and shoots it back in again. Long time between whistles here. And finally the whistle. Whistle went, at least we heard a whistle. 6 minutes without a whistle is what's happened here now as Ramage shoots it in. Lehman can't reach that pass. Lushenkov behind his net. He's checked by Lehman. And the Soviets again. Out at center ice, that's Yashin. He's checked right at the line. Back to get it is Damphus. Damphus turning, shooting it to center ice. It goes right past Lehman and all the way down into the Soviet zone. Back to get it is Tatarinov. Tatarinov up along the boards. He shoots it down the ice. Comes all the way down to LaForest. He just gulps it out over the blue line. Leonov then waits for his mates to get back on side. Clears it in. Kerbers then to the wing where Lehman got it. Ahead now for Osborne out at center ice. It's taken over by Antipov. He shoots it in. And again, the Leafs trying to organize inside the zone. Have it stripped away, but now Kerbers will bring it out. Kerbers to Olchek. Olchek to the line. Finally offside as Osborne got in too quickly. And we'll finally get a face-off. 2-0, Toronto leading. Well, they tell us Stéphane Fiset was the star of that game. A 3-3 tie. Fiset, Quebec draft choice, as Canada and Finland at the World Junior Championship in a 3-3 tie today. This game is rolling right along here as Frolov brings it to the line. Frolov throws it into the slot, but there's nobody there but Gary Lehman, who is backing up on the play, reverting to his former life as a defenseman and playing the slot very well. Back there is line for the Soviets is Semak, number 27. Lomakin having trouble getting out of his zone. Frolov gets it. Frolov ahead. Now they'll try. At center ice, it's Semak. Semak ducks around Todd Gill's check. Semak moves in. He's checked at the side of the net by Iafrate. And behind the net, Semak still working on it, but Iafrate takes the puck away from him. Iafrate brings it up to center ice. Leading the rush himself. Iafrate to the line, and he's knocked over as he tried to go for the net. Puck was headed that way, but Frolov got a piece of him. Soviets back again. Semak to the line. Semak is checked right at the line, and that threw Kovalov off. And a face-off. Toronto leading the game 2-0.
Luke Richardson's going to get 2 minutes for tripping on Mr. Semak here. He made a great open ice hit earlier in the period, Richardson did. Had him lined up, but Semak made one little extra move, and Richardson had to pull his feet out to stop it. Soviets will try for the third time in the power play to get a goal here in a 2-0 hockey game.
And from the face-off, Aryonov shoots it in. Puck rolls near the side of the net. Shashov is there. This line that the Soviets have out there now, Zanarak, Aryonov, and Shashov, are three players you might be familiar with from last year's tour. They are regulars with the Dynamo Riga that were brought up for this tour. Three key players on this Dynamo team are playing at the World Junior Championships right now, so they needed the extra line, a little bit of help. Here's Mikulchuk with a shot. That's blocked at the defense very nicely by Dave Reed. Back along the boards, Varyanov. Varyanov still with that puck now, clearing it rink wide. That's Utin taking a shot. He stopped. Zanarak behind the net. Also moving in after it is Varyanov. Back out for the shot from the blue line by Mikulchuk. The puck is cleared down the ice by the Leafs. 3:15 remaining in the period. The Leafs lead this game 2-0. And the game has been taken away. There'll be some interesting discussions in the Soviet dressing room, I imagine. Here's Dorofeyev trying to get loose. He's being checked very closely by Tom Fergus, who's been very much a factor in this game.
Tom Fergus has had a very good period here.
Franciscetti in along with Fergus. Gets the pass to Fergus, who gets the shot away. And a good save by Carpin, who stuck right with the play, but a terrific play made to get the puck out to Fergus. Center ice once again, Dorofeyev. Dorofeyev with a little speed as he hits the line, but then forced to slow up by the defense. Petrenko getting it out near the line. That's Tatarinov trying to get a shot away. Dorofeyenko back to Tatarinov, hopped over his stick, and it's out at center ice once again. Back they come with Semyonov. Semyonov for Petrenko. Back to Dorofeyev. And here's Lurchison out of the penalty box, intercepting that pass. Tatarinov couldn't reach it. He dove for it. Now Richardson with a terrific move. Iafrate a shot, and Voshikov got in the way of that, and the puck is cleared down the ice. Mark Laforest out of the net plays the puck off his own player, and the Soviets take possession deep inside the zone. Petrenko is knocked to the ice. Down Bus with the puck now as he's cleared around behind the net. Here's a shot right on. They score. Antipov stealing that bad pass. And the Soviets get on the board with 1:51 left in the first period. Big goal for them because they were outplayed throughout the period.
This all developed about 30 seconds ago. There was an icing by the Soviets. The puck's going to come back here, and Antipov is just going to beat Laforest. But Laforest opted to shoot the puck out on an icing call. He hit his own player. The Leafs never got the puck out of their end after that. So he took away the icing call, kept the puck in, and a 2-1 hockey game here for the Leafs.
It's another shot, that one taken by Frolov, number 5 from the point, and the Soviets seem to get a little life here as Yashin clears it out for Antipov. And puck goes harmlessly behind the net. Bus trying to get loose. Soviets now in front. There's a chance, and they score. It's Yashin. He was all alone and unchecked, and just like this, after a tremendous period for the Leafs, they find themselves in a 2-2 tie.
You know what? This might be interesting. I mean, this is just scrambling play in front of their own net. I watched the game last night, and Toronto just seems to fall asleep in their own end of the ice. There's a lot of standing around and not a whole lot happening here. The puck, look, you know, there's a lot of nothing happening in their own end of the ice. The puck ends up in their net. It's interesting. A rush starts with Richardson and Iafrate getting an offensive opportunity. They dump the puck down. Laforest can't get it out of his own end. They score. Now they run around a little bit in their own end, don't do anything. It's a 2-2 hockey game.
Well, we saw that stat. They score a lot, they give up a lot. And that's nothing dull about the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is for sure. They really worked hard to get the 2-0 lead and then just went to sleep. Power play goal, and then they were really sound asleep when Yashin scored. 2-2 tie. Here they are again, right in front of the net, and a great chance. And the Soviets get it loose in front of the net. Laforest is down. The puck is chopped away to Lehman. Now it's intercepted again inside the zone. Now a chance. The shot. They score. Andrei Lomakin has given the Soviets the lead. What a shocking sequence of developments here with 3 goals scored in just over a minute.
Well, I must confess I'm not used to watching the Toronto Maple Leafs, but again, just too many mistakes in their own end of the ice. Richardson, they're just kind of running around and not doing anything. Lohman is going to get a actually that is yes, it's Lomakin that's going to score the goal. But as we suggest early in the period, the Leafs are bumping. They were getting on top of the puck. They seem to have the puck more, and now they just seem to kind of pack the last 5 minutes in. It's a 3-2 hockey game. Boy, poor old Doug Carpenter. It's another one of his nights, and he thought they got out of the gates pretty good here. What do they say? It's the same old song.
The one thing about Doug, he'll get the things straightened out. He's a terrific coach, and that's the way. Now here comes Fergus along with Pearson. It's been the best line for the Leafs. The shot is deflected wide of the net by Carpin. Out near the line, puck chops over the stick of Al Iafrate. He drops it off for Todd Gill. Gill shooting it rink wide. Or at least over the line is Franciscetti behind the net now. Also working in there is Pearson. Fergus clearing it out, but nobody at the point at that position, and Todd Gill goes back for it. 22 seconds remaining in the period as Gill seeks refuge behind his own net. Handel will start out. Gives it to his defense partner, Iafrate. Back to Gill. Stop center ice. Now here they come again. The Soviets with Maryanov leading the rush. He clears it in front and just mishandling it with Zanarek. He had another chance. All right, so first period over. And the Soviets lead Toronto 3-2.
It was interesting, too. We asked Yerzinov, the coach of Dynamo, today, his impressions of last night's game. He shook his head first because of the comeback, and then he also said, very strong offense, very weak defense. And Ron and I both looked at one another and said, well, that's just about it.
Yeah. Their offense stronger than their defense. Osborne deep inside the zone to Olczyk. Olczyk trying to get it in front for Lehman, and it's intercepted, and out come the Soviets. Leading the way is Semyonov. He got to the line and no further, and the Leafs are starting off this period very much the way they started the game off, with a quick shot by Olczyk. And goaltender Andrei Karpin makes the save. By the way, Karpin is basically the backup goaltender with Dynamo Moscow. Their main man is Vladimir Mushkin. Remember him from the Challenge Cup? The blonde-headed Mushkin. There's the save by Karpin.
Olczyk just advances the puck to the net. I'm not sure that puck was going to hit the net. Speak of Mushkin, he's been around an awful long time, 34 years old.
He's got some injury problems early in the year, and the reason why they're not using him at this particular moment. They tried a little crisscross play at the line, but Yashin couldn't catch up to the puck. Now Leonov hits it over the line to Antipov to the far side, where the shot comes in from Bolshakov. Checking up against the boards is Luke Richardson, trying to hold it in there. Puck comes behind the net. That's Yashin again. Yashin checked off the puck. Olczyk. Ramage working. Gets it behind the net. Mark Osborne. Osborne, number 12 for the Leafs. Ahead for Richardson. Richardson deep in his own zone. Just dishes it off there for Richardson. Richardson long lead pass. Intercepted by Frolov to Yashin. Yashin looking for that man in front. Osborne went down as he went reaching for that puck. It goes to Leonov again. Over now. Here's Frolov moving in. He shoots. He hit the side of the net. Had a clear path to the net, but his angle got worse as he got closer to it, and eventually he was forced to hit the net. Bolshakov ahead for Frolov. Frolov with that pass rink wide to Antipov. He shoots it in. Laporte out of the net. Laporte towards Franciscetti. Ramage just golfs it out past Frolov to center ice. Turning is Tatarinov. Ahead. Lomakin's over the line. Gets through, shoots, and just shot it wide. Good play by Lomakin, and he was hauled down as he got past the defense. And Lomakin has drawn a penalty, but a good effort by Lomakin.
Lomakin showing that good Soviet first step. He gets the puck through the offensive line here and shows a good jump in that first one or two steps. And Rob Ramage, who started the period now, is at the tail end of a 2-minute shift. But again, Lomakin creates the penalty by a real good first two steps at the offensive blue line.
Well, Todd Gill winds up the fellow who actually got the hook on. There was a little bit of a skate got in underneath Lomakin.
Maybe came from the other side, yeah. I guess. So we shouldn't chastise Rob Ramage for staying out too long and drawing a penalty. But in the meantime, Todd Gill will spend 2 minutes in the penalty box for tripping.
You're wondering about the crowd here at Maple Leaf Gardens tonight. It's about, I would say, 6,000, with maybe generous in that. Harold Ballard, venerable owner of the hockey club, set ticket prices at $50. 50, 40, and 30 for this one. And I guess a credit to those who love the game that they would pay those kind of prices to see this game. Over the line, well offside there. Carrying the puck was Kovalov. Number 24, Kovalov, who transferred from Dynamo Minsk and has replaced, as we mentioned, Svetlov, who has been dropped from this team. Svetlov had a great career, of course, but in recent years has been suffering from concussions. He had one that cost him the last half of last year. So Kovalov has taken over.
And Svetlov, it sounded like Yerzinov, the coach, was suggesting that as a result of the concussions, he's just never got back in condition, or the condition that they expected of athletes.
Circling back inside his own blue line, that's Varyanov, number 12. Bringing it out is Glushenkov. Center ice, Varyanov then gets it off to the wing. Shashov shooting it in. Tracking it down on the far boards, Varyanov, but it comes out to center ice. In the center ice zone, Glushenkov gets a return pass. Soviets will move it around in their own zone, try to set up a way through the center zone. Tatarinov sent it up there, but it was intercepted again. The Leafs tightening up in the neutral zone. Varyanov now will try. He overskated it, got it again, and once again, Dynamo having trouble getting its game underway here. Over the line, that's Shashov. He's checked. Curran in there. Curran working with Herbers as the defensive pairing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Behind the net now, here's Shashov trying to set up, but he was quickly checked. Jumping right in on him was Fergus. Boy, if you're going to pick a star for the Leafs in this game so far, it's Tom Fergus.
The Soviets not at all adverse to putting someone in front of the net on the power play. It's interesting when you consider, you know, with more of their finesse, I think is what you'd expect from their power play. But this particular club will put a man or two in front of the net on the power play.
Over the line they come once again. Sonarik around behind the net, being chased on the play by Luke Richardson. Threw it out in front. Close call there. Now at center ice once again, Reed. Reed had it stripped away from him, and Dorofeyev comes back, and McIntyre will go back along with goaltender Mark Laforce. Laforce steps out and then cleared it along the boards for Ramage. Ramage one-handing it to the line, out to center ice. Ramage still with that puck as he gave it to Gill. For the Soviets, that's Semyonov. Semyonov fakes the shot, shoots it in there. Up off Laforce's blocker. Cleared back out to center ice. Back they come, the Soviets. Sonarik. Also in there is Petrenko. McIntyre, puck along the boards. They clear it rink wide. That's Dorofeyev. Dorofeyev clearing it behind the net now. Semyonov. He's checked on the play, and out comes Kordic. Kordic ahead for Reed. Reed to Kordic. Kordic getting set in front, and it's just stripped away from him. But a penalty will be called on the play. 4 minutes, 50 seconds gone in the second period. Soviets lead Toronto 3-2.
Alexander Yutin's going to get 2 minutes for hooking and pulling down John Kordic. Yutin got caught breaking to the neutrals, or to the offensive zone, coming off his left point, looking for that pass. Consequently, played catch-up on a 3-2 break. Kordic goes to the net, and Yutin pulls him down. The Leafs now get an opportunity to tie this hockey game up.
Yutin is a Calgary draft choice. Talking with the coach, Vladimir Yursinov, he says that he's his best young defenseman. With high hopes he'll be a leader on this team. Iafrate off the boards. Dom Fuss back to Iafrate. Back to Dom Fuss. Dom Fuss tried to make a move behind the defense. Leonov intercepted that. It was out over the line and back in over the blue line. Vincent Dom Fuss from Laval Juniors. 26 goals last year. Great talent. He's going to be one of those players that'll come, you know, they come out of the Quebec League. Sometimes there are a lot of things that they have to learn when they come into the NHL defensively, and it seems to affect their offensive play for a while. But this is a youngster I think that's going to be.
And I think he will learn also with like a Carpenter system and a Ramage, and just learn how to play as a pro. And they need the leadership that a Carpenter and Ramage will provide. They do have he does have the tools to play.
Here he comes now down the right side. Dom Fuss steps just inside the blue line, turns, feeds it into the corner. Wendell Clark back to Todd Gill. Gill trying to golf it in front. They clear it across, and all alone was Marois, but he couldn't get the shot away. Now in the corner. Marois pinned in there. And the Soviets will start out. 59 seconds left in the power play advantage as Leonov gets to Antipov, and he stick handle right along the line. As a matter of fact, Antipov says, hey, I didn't make a play there. There's Leonov. Scored 2 goals against Pittsburgh the other night in the 5-2 victory over the Penguins.
I think Antipov was expecting a pass. They were going on the attack despite being down a man, and
Canadians and the Soviet wings.
Some of the more memorable games for sure between the Soviets and the National Hockey League have been seen at the Montreal Forum, so it should be a good one on Wednesday.
Well, the fans seem to get so into it in Montreal. They enjoy the international game. It used to be a New Year's Eve tradition. Here's Lehman. Lehman to Olczyk. Olczyk backhanding it behind the net. Leafs on the power play for another 28 seconds. And they try to control it inside the zone, but Olczyk's pass slid out to center ice. Kerbers. Lehman. That's cleared right back down into the Leaf zone as Semak takes it. Gets it down there. Ramage now from Kerbers. Clears it over the line. Here's a chance. Right on. Rebound. Scores! Olczyk getting in there, taking that rebound. And we've got a tie hockey game.
Well, the Leafs get a power play goal here to make it 3-3 and only their 7th shot of the hockey game. Mark Osborne just has allowed an awful lot of room at the offensive blue line. Gets the puck to the net, and Olczyk's going to be Johnny on the spot. Put it home. I think Ed Olczyk scores an awful lot of these type of goals. He's a big 6-foot, 200-pounder. Got pretty good hands, a good offensive head to get himself in position. But again, Osborne had an awful lot of room through the middle of the ice in the offensive zone to get that shot on goal. And that's a 3-3 hockey game.
Puck cleared down the ice once again. Ryan Curran around to the far side. And out come the Leafs once again. 3-3 tie here. Puck is cleared deep into the Soviet zone. Mikulchuk at center ice. Varyanov. Sliding it to the board. Shashov then cleared it in. It's knocked to the ice, and the Leafs take over. Pass for Franciscetti. Way out of the net. The Soviet goaltender, they're not used to doing much of that, and he cleared it around behind the net. Pearson gives the goaltender a shot right in front of the net.
Well, this started, Ron. The goaltender, Carpin, moves the puck around the ice, and he's going to lay the wood on the Leaf player.
Well, we're going to get a penalty for it, I think. 3-3 tie.
The Soviet goaltender, Carpin's going to move the puck. Now watch him lay the lumber on Pearson. And Pearson looks around and says, what the heck is that? He goes back and gives his calling card right there. Now, Maruelli did not see the original slash. I think the linesman made the call on the original slash on Carpin's infraction. Pearson turns around. I think he was surprised to get the whack. He went over and said hello and then biffed him one, and we have a double minor here.
Well, this has been the NHL. That first contact would have started a brawl.
For sure.
Goaltender getting whacked outside the net.
Really, you have to assume that Scott Pearson, skating away from the play, the last thing he expects is to get a two-hander from a Soviet goaltender.
Lomakin will serve the penalty that's been issued to goaltender Andrei Karpin. Pearson is in there as well. Well, now Lomakin's leaving, and we're going to get some clarification here. Linesman Ron Finn is over at the timekeeper's bench.
You have to know that the interpreters are hard at work here, explaining to the Soviet coaches what is exactly happening here. And they may not be for the confusion that seems to reign here.
Has to be somebody who was on the ice, and I think that they are now putting Zanarak in the box. He was on the ice. Lomakin was not. Slight difference between Soviet and NHL rules. Playing, of course, NHL rules here. Ramage shooting it in. Big hit behind the net. That one by Franciscetti. Cleared out in front. Shot right on. The rebound. It is knocked down by the defenseman who put his glove on the puck but got away with it.
Defenseman had his back to the line, or the official Maruelli.
Franciscetti just got a penalty for upending the Soviet player. The Soviets go down the ice. It's called Franciscetti, a retaliation-style penalty. 7:58 gone in the period, a 3-3 tie. You know, you can get a little excited sometimes. Franciscetti did with a hit and then the penalty. Here's the shot. We'll get a chance to see that in a moment, but from the face-off up near the blue line now, it's Mikulchuk trying to shoot it in there. A good pass across the ice, and there's a quick shot at the side of the net. And LaForest very, very alert at the side of the net. A A good play all the way around. The long pass out to the point, and then the play at the side of the net.
In the warm-up, Lou Franchisetti is going to get this penalty, tripping again away from the play after the puck goes up ice, and he can't get away from that. He creates a good offensive opportunity for Mark Osborne by good old Canadian-style hockey. Just taking the man off the puck. Osborne got a good offensive chance off of Francichetti's hit.
That was power play underway. There's a bad pass right at the line that was intercepted by McIntyre, and Dorofeyev back inside his own zone. Mikulchik's number 16. 16. Dorofeyev then gets it out to center ice. Semyonov then going for the net. Tries to split the defense, but he's taken right out of the play by Brady. Now left there near the line now. Shot by Uden right on, and the rebound bounces off near the boards and is backhanded out to center ice. Petrenko trying to hold it, but this is Reed. Reed with Brady. Reed going in, gets set, shoots. Good save by Carpenter, stuck right with him. And it's cleared out to center ice, and Gill's got it. Gill to Brady. Brady just golfing it down in the Soviet zone and deflected off Mikulchuk's stick and went right to Carpenter. And he had to hold on to it with a bouncing puck. 52 seconds left in the power play.
Dave Reed, it's a good offensive opportunity, killing a penalty. He's going to put his big arms out there and use his body to shield the Soviet defenseman away. Look how far away that puck is from the Soviet defenseman. And then he just pulls it up and kind of runs out of room. You get a little too far to the left, but a good usage of a big body to keep that puck as far away from the Soviet defender as possible. Spent 5 years in the Boston system, second year here with the Leafs. Not known for any offensive prowess, but in the meantime, a role player that will contribute on a team as it gets better.
So we got some problems with the ice down in front of the Soviet goal, which apparently has been rectified. And we're set to go here. 10:54 left in the second period. A 3-3 tie. An interesting kind of a hockey game. It's had a bit of an ebb and a flow to it. When Toronto has wanted to take the game away from Dynamo, they've been able to do it.
They have controlled their destiny by doing that. They seem to be the determining factor on what happens in this hockey game.
Roloff now from deep in his own zone. Works it through center ice. Bolshakov in over the line. Clear it rink wide. That's Roloff getting it. Now on the far boards, Antipov clears it to the side of the net now. A chance here for Leonov. He threw it in front. Then the loose puck is cleared away. Curran getting on top of that puck and getting it down the ice. Bolshakov. That's Leonov. Yashin clears it in. Curran's got it. Curran being hounded in there by Leonov. Curran having a lot of trouble as they finally double team him, and Yashin comes up with it up along the boards, but Roloff can't reach that one, and it's flipped out to center ice once again. Olczyk trying to get loose. Olczyk giving chase is Bolshakov. He drops it back for Lehman. Lehman around the net, shoots it, and a very alert pad save there by Carpenter, who had to reach back. Bolshakov clears it down into the Leaf zone. Richardson to Marois. Center ice now to Domfus. Domfus to Marois to Domfus. Domfus moving in. Gets set. Shoots right on. And the rebound by Carpenter is covered up with Marois right on the doorstep. Still a 3-3 tie. Toronto and Dynamo Moscow. 2 nights ago. Won in the third period, which is a shocking.
Well, without seeing that hockey game, I would suggest that Pittsburgh just went through the motions, and that has been a factor in the NHL games that they play that maybe why they are where they are in the Patrick Division.
Teams with the character seem to be the ones that do well in these games. The Leafs are showing a little of that in this game, although at times they seem to let up. Lomakin trying to get out of the zone. Checked by Marois. Now the pass goes to Semak. Semak over the line now. Semak getting that return pass. Going for the net. And it's knocked away from him by Rob Ramage. Richardson up against the boards. Lomakin's in there with him. So is Semak. Semak's number 27. Reaching back for it is Wendell Clark. He can't get it. Lomakin out into the slot. Semak trying to get set. It's poked away from him, and Clark sends it out to center ice past Marois. Now here's Ramage. Ramage shooting it to the line, but Wendell Clark was in too quickly, and we'll get another face-off. 3-3 tie here at Maple Leaf Gardens, New Year's Eve. There are coaches, and two pretty good ones, too. Doug Carpenter, it may be forgotten, was the coach of Team Canada at the World Hockey Championships in 1985 in Prague, when Canada went into that game against Czechoslovakia for the gold medal. And anybody who can put together a team that's world class, as that team was, on short notice with a bunch of cast-off players and players that didn't make the playoff, it's got to be a heck of a coach. There's Kordic taking it.
As they did.
Yeah, they wound up with a silver medal. Sure. And that for Carpenter and for the players that went over there on that tournament was quite an accomplishment, especially right in Prague. Kordic there, John Kordic. Many people said the Leafs made a monstrous mistake when they traded Courtnall for Kordic. And many people now are reassessing that view. Courtnall not having a great year in Montreal. This guy is having the best year of his life.
Well, he's got 8 goals this year, and Courtnall, I believe, only has 9. And obviously what Kordic is going to bring in that Courtnall does is that physical presence.
Courtnall up against Kordic up against the boards. It's cleared away. And out to center ice now, and Petrenko leads the rush. Petrenko there for Zanarak. Zanarak is checked. And it's Kordic who sends, not Kordic, the defense that sends it out to center ice. Todd Gill. Now Reed back together behind his own net. 7:55 remaining in the second period. 3-3 tie. Signals got crossed in there as Reed thought Ian Brady was going to come back and help him out. And Ian Brady throws a check out in the center ice zone that knocked over Zanarak. Here they come once again, though. Here's a shot blocked by Gill as he got in front of the attempt by Shashov. Gill, Shashov in the corner. Also moving in is McIntyre. Checked on the play by Zanarak. Close quarters in there. Behind the net now. Zanarak out in front. He shoots. Puck is loose in the goal mouth. And Mark LaForest is down and holds on. Big pileup.
Second good toe save by Mark LaForest. He made a dandy earlier in the period, showing a good ability to cover up the bottom of his net with his feet, his lower leg, by laying that big pad down. Mark LaForest spent some time in Detroit and Philadelphia. Plays a little scrambly down low here, but watch LaForest just cover the bottom of his net. There's really not a whole lot of place for the Soviets to go. Zanaruk does not have enough room to go upstairs, but again, LaForest in good position with his pads and his feet to take the lower part of the net away from the Soviet player.
Back behind the net now for the Leafs. Curvers now getting it out to center ice. Lou Francischetti gets in over the line. Francischetti ahead for Kerber. Stops up, clears it in front. Great pass shot. Hit the post. What a terrific play all the way around. And they hit the post as Scott Pearson got in. Now here's Fergus reaching for it. Again, that line centered by Fergus. That time there was a good pass by Kerbers that started that play in motion. Puck is cleared down the ice into the Soviet zone once again. Bolshakov behind his own net. Moving in on him was Francischetti. Pearson circling back. Leafs #1 draft choice a year ago. Scored one of the goals here in the game. Puck is cleared ahead with the glove. And it is called for batting it ahead. And we'll get a face-off. 6:35 left in the second period. 3-3 tie.
Frolov, the Soviet defenseman, is going to give the old hike right here on the day when the NFL is in playoffs. He should probably be called, but in the meantime, that goes to his teammate in the NHL. That is not a stoppage of play. He advanced it in his defensive zone to a teammate. Play continues.
Well, I thought for a second there he might have been called for putting his hand around the puck, you know, and gloving the puck, but that's a penalty. Yeah, you're right. That's legal now. You're allowed to pass the hand pass in your defensive zone. Here, fighting off a check is Yashin. Finally, he's knocked to the ice. Play the man, they say. They finally did. That was the end of that effort. Tom Kerber's battling over on the far side, but the puck comes near the area in front of the net. Finally, the Leafs come away with it. Out at center right, that Olchek. He hits the line and then flips it into the corner. Lehman will go back there after it, but it's cleared along the glass. And Leonov out at center ice. Ramage ahead off Lehman's skate. Lehman now with a little bit of a pass, and the whistle goes. Called on the offside as Olchek went down right at the blue line.
It seems they've had a little bit of problems with the ice. I know in front of the Soviet goal here, they fixed the ice a couple of times. The puck seems to be bouncing an awful lot. And Olchuk here is going to come to the offensive blue line and again lose an edge. Right there.
It's the paint.
It looks like that paint maybe a hair higher than the ice that knocked Eddie Olczyk's feet out. But in the meantime, it seems to me they're having a little bit of trouble with the ice. The puck seems to be bouncing a little more than I've seen in the games in Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver.
Mikulchuk clearing it out to center ice, at least with a little speed, or at least the Soviets score. I was about to say they had tremendous speed going down the wing, and Semak did. He's noted for it, and he winds up getting a goal right through the pads of LaForest.
Well, this is, you can say speed or whatever, but in the meantime, Mark LaForest has to make this save. He's coming down. He gets Richardson a little off balance there before he can get those feet turned. In the meantime, this puck's got to be stopped. He's just got to stop that puck. I mean, Semak gets a full head of steam, gets Richardson a little off balance, but in the meantime, you've got a goaltender there that's got to make that save. 4-3 Soviets.
Oh, Semak gets the goal. 14:28 the time of the goal. From the face-off, it's cleared down. Kovalov, 4-3. Soviets lead. Semak still out there. Puck is cleared ahead and down deep into the Soviet zone. That's Mikulchuk back there, but it's called. And we'll have an icing call on the face-off back down in the Leaf zone.
I know the Leafs are looking as we take a look at the Soviet bench. Semak, the fourth goal scorer. Richardson has a little trouble moving his feet, but there's really no trouble. I mean, that's why the goaltender, I mean, he has a little trouble getting over, making that cross step. But in the meantime, the club is not in any danger because of a little error that he's made. LaForest, again, he's got to make that save. I know the Leafs are looking for that goaltender, and LaForest has played well. But again, the goaltenders, it's not so ones the saves that they make, it's that one that he lets in that kills a hockey
club. Earlier in the year, Dr. Carpenter saying, you know, you can just almost see a team sag on the bench when a goal like that goes in, and they've had a few like that this year. But you don't want to blame goaltending alone on this team, because the defense can do some things to the goaltenders, too. There have been some rough nights in that area where goaltenders kind of saved this club. Early in the game last night, for instance, Fester had to make some very, very big saves against the Bruins. It might have been a lot worse than it was when the Leafs started to make their comeback. That's Wendell Clark with the puck near the line. Clark backhanding it towards the net, but it knocked down at the defense by Voshikov. He gets it out over the blue line, and Varyanov then circles. Varyanov, number 12. Now gets it off the wing. Here's some speed again. Zanarik getting in front of the net, and he is knocked down as he went through the goal crease. And we're going to get another penalty.
Well, this is where speed is going to draw a penalty. Zanaruk just with a good burst of speed down the right side. Gill a little too far to the middle, can't get in position, has to pull the Soviet forward down.
Zanaruk's got the puck now, number 26. Working out near the line. Frolov's got it. Frolov working in. He is checked, gets the puck again, but then can't control it, and it's cleared down the ice by Tom Kerbers. Back to get it for the Soviets. That's Yuri Voshikov, number 4. Checking McIntyre, but he dropped the puck off for Frolov. Center ice, the Soviets bring it in. Shashov intercepted. Reed is there. Returning with that puck is Frolov. Frolov clearing it right onto the stick of Curran, and Curran gets it out to center ice. Back is Voshikov. Frolov, Voshikov. Leafs are making a change. Varyanov clearing it in now. Here's a chance for Dorofeyev. Dorofeyev, good moves. Nice pair of moves on Francischetti, and then he let a bullet go, but he missed the net with it. That's Tatarinov, number 2, trying to pinch in. They couldn't hold it at the blue line. Dorofeyev again, who made those good moves, gets it out at center ice. Leaves it for Lushenkov. Lushenkov gets the return pass. And they start out with Dorofeyev leading the rush. This fine young player, Dorofeyev, clearing it off to the wing now. He goes to the net, and he's all alone in front of the net. They couldn't get the puck to him. Finally did late with a high flip shot that was handled by LaForest and covers up.
Dorofeyev, who Soviet coaches feel is the best young forward they have in their hockey club, showing some good skills here, high in the offensive zone. Makes a good move here on Francischetti, who gets out of position. He's going to let a bullet go over the top of the net. Boy, if that hits the net, there's a good chance that goes in the net.
It'll take LaForest in with it.
We're seeing more evidence of the Soviet speed now, taking advantage of a little slower Leaf blue line.
Tatarinov from the blue line on this side for Glushenkov. 26 seconds left in the power play. Tatarinov shot, and it is deflected wide. There was Dorofeyev at the side of the net, but he deflected it wide. I think the puck just hit Dorofeyev. Glushenkov now behind his own net. Frantischetti moving into forecheck, but Lomakin is the one who gets the pass. He's in center ice zone. Clears it for Semyonov. Semyonov is knocked down, but got the pass away to Tatarinov into the corner. So out to the point for Glushenkov. The shot is wide of the net. Back out near the point. Here's Tatarinov. A backhand pass. Dorofenko over now. Glushenkov. Glushenkov's shot is wide. Tatarinov knocks it down at the blue line. That's it. Feed for Glushenkov. Glushenkov with the shot. That's deflected by Ramage's stick behind the net. Moving after it is Lomakin. Behind the net, Lomakin. And against the boards for Tatarinov. Tatarinov in front of the net now. Quick shot that was blocked again at the defense. And Fergus brings it out. Fergus at center ice. Fergus still with that puck. Fergus over the line offside. Frantischetti got in too quickly. So with 1:38 remaining here in the second period, inside the blue line, Olczyk will center the line with Lehman and Mark Osborne for the Leafs. From the face-off, back to Todd Gill. Iafrate working on the defense with Gill. And the Soviets. Antipov shooting it in. Osborne back there to get it. Rink-wide pass for Lehman. Lehman just bangs it off the boards. Iafrate having trouble against some close checking from both Antipov and Leonov. Lehman, he's checked there. Yashin's got it now. Yashin for Leonov. But again, the Leafs take over with Olczyk. Olczyk, center ice, gets it to Osborne. Osborne, less than a minute remaining in the period now to Iafrate. Iafrate is stripped of the puck, and here come the Soviets. Leading the rush is Yashin. Trying to set up a 2-on-1. Good pass there for Leonov. It clears it to the side of the net, and then they shoot it over top of the net. So what was a 2-on-1 very quickly through the efforts of the Leafs to get back finally became a non-play. Here's Lehman getting in. He's checked from behind. Out at center ice once again. Yashin off Osborne's stick. It's cleared in. Yashin with no speed goes in after it, but out of the net is LaForest. Clears it around the net. What took a bad bounce off the boards, but the Leafs maintain possession as Osborne gets it in the center ice zone. Back again come the Soviets again. Here's a shot right on. And again, LaForest, who elects to step out and clear it down the ice himself. Going back for it is Bolshakov. Bolshakov takes a hit from McIntyre and then gets some help. Along the boards, Sema as the horn goes to end the second period. And the Soviets will skate to the dressing room, leading the hockey game 4-3.
Alexander Semak is going to score the fourth goal, which will be the difference in the hockey game here in a 4-3 game. Again, he does not so much beats Richardson. He has a little trouble, Richardson, getting his feet in position. But really, the Leafs are not in any great danger here. He's got him wide, and Mark LaForest just misses the puck. But that is the fourth Soviet goal, a 4-3 hockey game at the end of 2.
So the score at the end of second period of play here at Maple Leaf Gardens. Dynamo Moscow 4, Toronto Maple Leafs 3. Second period.
Well, Ed Olczyk got the Leafs back here at 3-3. 42 goal scorer. And he and Lehman were two guys at the start of this season, created a little bit of controversy of their influence or lack thereof in the locker room. Gary Lehman, it looks like he's sporting some Norris Division marks from that fiasco in Chicago, or at the Garden against Chicago about a week ago. But in the meantime, two very skilled players, and two players that have to be viewed as leaders in the locker room and not a disruptive factor. I think the thought with Olczyk was, well, he had to play in both ends of the ice, but this was a fellow that was even in the plus-minus last year. He's +10 this year, and last year the club was a collective -85. So it seems to me Eddie Olczyk can play in his old end of the ice, and the Leafs have some good young talent.
They've had a lot of very high draft picks in the recent years, and they're beginning to show. There's a good chance right at the side of the net on a backhand shot by Lehman. thing that people tell me who see Lehman a lot is his immense skills that he has. And there's a chance. That's Dave Hannon, who's one of the injured Leafs, crutches and all.
It came from Pittsburgh in the waiver draft. And there's a thought around Pittsburgh that they lost he and Cunnyworth, two players that can really wheel. And it took a lot of their speed away from them. Like when Klima goes to Edmonton, Detroit loses that speed. Same thing with him.
There's Olczyk just hoisting it wide of the net on a pass in from the blue line, and Ramage. Ramage gets it to center ice and clears it back in again. Back to get it for the Soviets. Olczyk cleared it out along the boards. There's that lead pass for Dorofeyev. He took a shot wide of the net. Osborne up against the boards, cleared to Ramage. Ramage couldn't hold that puck, but Petrenko moves in. His shot's blocked at the blue line, and out come the Leafs once again with Luke Richardson leading the way. Richardson shooting it in. Olczyk digging in after it. Cleared around the boards. Richardson to Olczyk. Olczyk in front of the net. Osborne couldn't knock that down. Petrenko flipping it into the Leaf zone. Iafrate, he's got it. 20 feet inside the blue line. Richardson couldn't reach that pass. Here's a chance shot wide of the net by Bolshakov. Fergus along the boards, and the Soviets again in control. There's a quick shot wide of the net, and Iafrate picks it up. Iafrate ahead. Gets it again. Iafrate with a good move in the center zone. Now gets it to Fergus. Fergus ahead for Iafrate. He scores! Iafrate just got the tip of his stick on that one and redirected it. And Andre Carpin had it go between his legs.
You're going to see an awful lot of instances why people around the league feel that this guy could be a factor. He makes a nice move for a big man in the neutral zone and heads to the net. And Fergus feathers a pass, and that big old reach tucks the puck underneath the Soviet goaltender. But here, Fergus feathers a nice pass. But again, a small guy doesn't make that play, because Iafrate using those big old arms and legs to get it out there and just tucks it underneath Carpin. And it's a 4-4 hockey game, and we've got a game here in the third period.
Had a game all night.
From Tom Fergus
bad.
And Gary Lee.
Puck is cleared in. Here's Carpin just leaving it behind the net. Franciscetti jamming in there, and out they come once again. Unable to stop it. Here's a chance. It's Pearson who's been a factor in this game. Gets it behind the net for Franciscetti. Out in front. Puck was steered away by goaltender Carpin. Out come the Soviets with Lomakin. Lomakin getting a return pass from Tatarinov. The Leafs with Fergus. Fergus trying to backhand a pass, and he's checked from behind by Semak. Now it's Franciscetti who will try. He's stopped. Lomakin. Lomakin with that lead pass ahead for Kovalev. Kovalev behind the net. One-handing it in front. Checked all the way. Never got really much he could do except one-handed. Out they come again with Fergus. Fergus down over the line. Pass goes to the goal mouth area. Marwa was there. So was Pearson, but also goaltender Carpin, and he held on for the face-off. 2:38 gone in the third period. A 4-4 tie. Leafs and Dynamo Moscow. If you're enjoying the game, we certainly are. The puck is cleared in there from the blue line. Kerber's taking that shot. Wendell Clark back out to Kerber's. The shot. It's steered into the corner. After it back there is Tom Poos. He tried to get it in front, went past Kerber's, and Curran will go back near his own net with the puck. Now off the boards to center ice. Clark got it caught up in his skates, had to chase it cross ice. Kerber's then covered up, but he got nowhere, and it's Curran. Curran back into his own zone. Gives to Kerber's. Kerber's ahead at center ice. That pass intended for Marwa. Cleared back in over the line. Soviets with Baryanov clearing it to center ice. Now here comes Shashov. Shashov checked by Richardson. Clark. Clark trying to get past the defense. He's taken out of the play. Now Zanarak. Soviets looking for some room now as they get in over the line. Baryanov. Baryanov takes a hit. Continues on. Behind the net. Rolls it out in front, but Marwa's right there. Marwa's checked. Here's a shot right on. They score. Zanarak got that loose puck in the slot and sent it low to the glove side on Mark LaForest. And again, the Soviets have taken the lead 5-4.
Daniel Marois is going to cough up the puck right here in the neutral zone. Now, he's got it on his forehand. He's going to come around here and bring it on his forehand. That puck's got to get out of there. Now he tries to make that little move. He set himself up nice to advance the puck, but brought the puck back in the worst part of the ice. And very simply, Zanaruk is going to make a 5-4 game off an error of Daniel Marois in a very, very bad part of the ice.
Zanaruk, one of those players picked up from Dynamo Riga for this tour. And he scores to give the Soviets the 5-4 lead. Here they come again. Over the line is Petrenko. Petrenko took a shot, blocked by Reed at the defense. Moving in after it now is Dorofeev. Close quarters along the boards, and the Leafs come away with it once again. At center ice, Reed. Reed to McIntyre. McIntyre checked by Frolov. And it's back out at center ice where Ramage has it. He clears it in. Out of the net. Karpin leaving it. At center ice, Dorofeev couldn't hold it, but chasing after it is Semyonov. He's in over the line now. Semyonov dropping for Petrenko, and he's checked by Richardson. Came out over the line and was brought back in by Frolov. Soviets lead Toronto 5-4. From the faceoff, bringing it in over the line is Yashin. Yashin dropped it into the slot, but Todd Gill was right there. He leaves it off. Iafrate around the net. He's got that speed, and he moves it through center ice. Iafrate over to the far side. Hole check back to Iafrate. He shot it wide. Great skating on the play. It was set up by the speed of Iafrate as he came through the neutral zone. Todd Gill goes back to get it. It's called on the icing. Iafrate.
Another great individual effort by Al Iafrate, using good speed. He's going to go coast to coast, as they say, using speed, strength, length of body, size, and continue on. And we suggested at the top that he's been encouraged to pick his spots. Back, he's going to get up, and he just creates the whole play, Al Iafrate. But again, he shows no hesitancy to continue up in an offensive vein. And the point is, he can do it. He has all the tools to do it. He's big, he skates well, he's got a good sense when he gets the puck. And it's just a matter of picking the spot.
Lehman was the one who had that chance after Iafrate had thrown it out into the slot after falling past the goal post. There's a quick shot taken from the blue line. Herbers took that and can held for another faceoff.
Well, the Leafs are living up to their reputation by suggesting that no one leave their seat or the television, because they continue to get opportunities here, and it has been their game to control what happens. Their mistakes, very obvious mistakes, have given the Soviets goals. The Soviets are almost like those volleyers in tennis. They just get the ball over, get the ball over, get the ball over, hopes the guy makes a mistake.
Doug Carpenter always looks like he's got a pain somewhere. Last night he was looking very pained for 2 periods. I almost saw a smile in the overtime. Coaches just don't naturally smile, that's all. Here's Osborne starting out. Lomakin steals it from him. Lomakin goes in, takes a shot. It's off the glove of LaForest, up against the boards. Osborne can't get out with it. Soviets keeping the pressure on as Kovalev goes behind the net. Kovalev out for Semak. Semak trying to get set, gives to Kovalev, then to Lomakin. Lomakin being checked very closely by Brian Curran, still inside the zone. They clear it to the side of the net, and finally the Leafs will get a little bit of room as Osborne eases it out to Lehman. Lehman to the line. Lehman trying to get around the defense, lost possession as he tried to go outside and send the puck inside, and the Soviets again clear it down the ice. Ramage will go back for it. Also Richardson, and it's Richardson who picks it up, and it's called on the icing. Dynamo Moscow 5, Toronto Maple Leafs 4. Burgess out there, centering a line with Pearson and Francis Ketty. And that's flipped ahead by Ramage. The Soviets pick up the puck. Woshikov clears it in. LaForest steps out, leaves it for Ramage. Ramage turning in the corner and leading the rush. There's it ahead. Pearson digging in after it. Also back there is Frolov, and it's Frolov who touches it, and it's called on the icing. Back down into the Leaf zone for a faceoff. Well, there's the fellow who scored the last goal, Zanarek from Dynamo Moscow. He's a Latvian. You see the odd one in these tours now. Yerba is also, of course, the goaltender for Central Army for this tour.
This threesome are the three fellows that Yerzinov brought over from Dynamo Riga for this hockey game. And they've been the most effective line, I've felt, although I believe Zarnok is the only fellow that scored for them. But they seem to be around the puck a lot. And, this has been their most effective threesome, to my way of thinking, here into the third period.
On the face-off, bringing it to center ice is Francis Getty. How could the Washington Capitals let Francis Getty go, basically, in a nothing deal? I've always felt he's been such a force, not a scoring force, but just a physical presence in games he plays.
Well, I think age began to help with it.
Oh, there's a complete giveaway, and Varyanov scores. Oh, never get easier than that one.
And there's even a smile on the Soviets' face.
Well, it's the holiday season.
Exactly. That was signed, sealed, and delivered by Tom Fergus, and everybody's heading up ice except Yarnoff, and he's just going to beat LaForest dead flat out. Everybody in the Leaf system is go. Yarnoff does not get the ticket. He gets the puck and beats LaForest. Too much time, too much room. You can't blame LaForest.
Last man shut the lights out. 6-4. Soviets are leading. Clark trying to get that lead pass from Iafredi. That's intercepted. Now Gill will try. Gill bringing it through the neutral zone. Backhands it in. Here's Tatarinov. Well, the Leafs will be the Leafs, won't they? Iafredi. Marois. Now that's Petrenko. Clears it out, and Gill will go back to it. This place has gotten very silent all of a sudden. But the Leafs will also be the Leafs and score 3 quick goals and be in the lead. That's the way Boston Bruins found things last night. Semyonov dropping it off. Here now is a chance for Petrenko. Clears it in. He scores on a quick two-way play with Petrenko sitting at the side of the net. And suddenly the Soviets again have exploded for a couple of quick ones, and they've taken a 7-4 lead.
Well, again, it's just a lack of concentration or work in their own end. Like Iafredi just kind of goes down. Gill, you get the sense when he comes into the play late, he's just kind of getting there because he's supposed to get there. It's not like he wants to get there to create anything, but just 28 comes down off Todd Gill letting him go. And Petrenko is going to get the goal, but again, it's interesting. When we saw Terry Crisp and the Flames, he suggested that, boy, they just make that one mistake, the Flames. This Leaf team would drive Terry Crisp crazy.
Here's McIntyre, brought right back out again by Antipov. Leading the rush. It's dropped on. Yashin's shot is right on. And here comes Kordic. Kordic at center ice. To Reed. Reed over the line. Reed shooting it. It's blocked there by Mikulchik. Kordic unable to reach that puck, and it's out at center ice. Curran will go back for it. He's being forechecked by Sergei Yashin. Cleared past Reed down into the Soviet zone. Mikulchik ahead to the line, no further. Richardson intercepted that. That is Ramage going back for it. Ramage along the boards. Osborne stopped in the center ice zone by Semak. Semak hit the line and hit a wall at the same time. And Lehman gives to Ramage. Ramage to Osborne to Lehman. Lehman getting it caught in his skates, and as he did so, he put himself offside. Looked like he had a free track to the line at that point. 7-4, Soviets. Well, the blonde hair hasn't gone gray yet.
There may be a few less strands, but in the meantime, the Leafs may have the Soviet team right where they want them if last night's game is any indication of what this Leaf team will now do. Down 3 here with just over 10 minutes, 11 minutes to play in the third period.
Luke Richardson to Ramage. Ramage trying to get it through center ice. That lead pass was intercepted by Bolshakov. The breakthrough was Kovalev, but he was stopped. Now here's Bolshakov again. Heard it. Semak trying to control in the corner against the checking of Richardson. Clears it out front. There's a quick shot. That one taken by Lomakin. Now Olczyk. Olczyk got it to the line, not out, kept in by Frolov. He's in deep. Now over for Semak. Semak with some time, and he shot it, but reaching in and getting his stick there was Lehman, and it deflects up into the crowd. As you look at Alexander Semak, who was born in Ufa, which is down in the Ural Mountains. He used to get a lot of penalties in the Soviet League, and they were slow to bring him to the national team, but he has been a part of that team now for a while. He played in the Canada Cup, all 7 games last Canada Cup.
64 minutes of penalties in 1 year in 84-85, which may match up to the 300-odd minutes that Brian Curran got for the Islanders in 85-86.
Well, when you consider there's no fighting, you never get a misconduct in that league.
64 minutes is
that's
spending time in the
divide by 2 and you know the number of penalties, and then consider it's a 44-game schedule. So he's the Soviet version of a goon.
Or feisty player might be.
Fergus got it over the line now. Fergus lit a broom, moving up his gill, but he elected to shoot it into the corner. Francischetti was knocked to the ice. Puck is cleared along the boards, and Zanarek gets it out to center ice. Fergus turns with it. Fergus made that bad pass that cost a goal, but overall his hockey has been very good. Francischetti's trapped inside the blue line as Tatarinov gets it behind the net. Tatarinov ahead. That's Varyanov. Out to center ice. Iafrate going up against the boards under some checking there from Shashov. Shashov finally feeds it back to his defense, then gets a return pass. Gave it to Tatarinov. Tatarinov to the line. It's offside. And we'll get a face-off outside the blue line. It's Tatarinov, the youngster who was so great 3 years ago at the World Junior Championship.
It's interesting now in this 7th Soviet goal. Watch Luke Richardson here, who is the defenseman, believe it or not, heading straight up the ice, looking for a pass that's coming off of Fergus's backhand through the neutral zone. Luke Richardson, when you talk about a team game and how it breaks down, it's instances like that where he just has to think that that's a forward that's coming across ice on his backhand. I shouldn't be heading through the middle of the ice looking for the pass.
Don't like to see the forward as the last man back. Here comes Wendell Clark. Clark at center ice now with that lead pass. Gets it to the line where it's taken by Marwa. Marwa got to the line. Now here's Dom Puss. Dom Puss behind the net. Marwa having some trouble against the checking. Dom Puss is in there as well. Clark up against the boards now. Clark with Herbers pinched in. Clark fanned on it, rolled to the side of the net, and here comes a rather brave Andrei Karpin out of his net, and he just one-handed it out to his defensive mate, Mikulchuk. The Soviets have it over the line. There is Dorofeyev, but he couldn't control it. And a Dom Puss again. Dom Puss with Clark. Over the line, Dom Puss looking to get to Clark, who is in front of the net, but the puck just didn't slide through. Now Clark to Dom Puss. His shot is wide. Tracking it down along the boards is Petrenko, and he shoots it down the ice into the Leaf zone. Back to get it Ramage. With the Leafs making changes, Ramage will head straight up ice. Ramage past Richardson, and it's Reed who picks it up out there, then gives it over the line. Only to have it cleared back out again. Ramage golfing it in. Bolshakov. Knocked down by Richardson in the center zone. McIntyre can't reach that as Frolov deflected it up into the crowd. 7:53 left in regulation time. Soviets lead 7-4. From the face-off, the puck down into the Soviet zone. Trying to get set is Kordic. His shot is wide of the net, and out to hold the puck is Karpin. We'll get another face-off this time and deep inside the Soviet zone. We mentioned Karpin being kind of a, well, maybe they call him Suitcase Karpin in the Soviet Union. He's moved around quite a bit with the Soviet wings, Vospreziensk for 2 years. Started with Dynamo Moscow and is back with them now.
The Soviet version of Gary Smith.
Yeah.
Suitcase Gary Smith, an old goaltender that played the National League for a number of teams. He has not had a whole lot of work. 16 shots is all that he's faced this evening. And faced only 9 the other night in Pittsburgh. We must think that playing in the NHL is a lark when it comes to stopping shots.
Lehman taking the draw, comes out near the line, it's kept in by Osborne. Soviets starting out with Tatarinov. Tatarinov will try a rush himself, but Osborne's on top of him. Osborne took a swipe at him as he was inside the zone. Iafrate starts out. Iafrate, good move again. He's had a couple of those rushes. This time he took a check from Glushchenkov. Now Gill moving in. 7-4. Soviets lead. 6:58 remaining regulation time as Osborne drops it off. Iafrate back to Osborne. Around behind the net. Olczyk moving after that puck. Out in front, Lehman trying to get a shot. There's Gill moving in, but he got a shot away that did not really get good contact with his stick and wound up hitting a defenseman in front of the net. Out of center ice now, Olczyk takes a pass over 2 lines. And again, we'll have a face-off back in the Leaf zone. 6:37 left in regulation time. From the face-off, Curran golfing it into the Soviet zone. That's Sheshov back there, number 20, intercepted. Great chance there for the Leafs, and Kerber's moving in at speed. Here's another chance, and a shot that's just wide on a blast from Fergus. Out at center ice once again. It's Zanara. Back in his own zone, Brian Curran. Curran for Kerbers. Flicks it on the far boards. Ahead for Pearson. Pearson with Fergus. Down to the line, trying to get around that defense. They played him very well. Uden did. Fergus takes a hit behind the net as the puck is cleared by Varyanov out near the point, and then out to center ice as Curran gets the pass from Kerbers. Kerbers again. Kerbers tried to get the pass through, and Varyanov intercepted that, and they'll go back behind the Leaf net. Curran getting it from LaForest, the goaltender. Curran ahead for Fergus. Fergus moving puck to Francischetti. Francischetti unable to get a shot away and rolled harmlessly to the goaltender. And we get some pushing and shoving going on behind the net. Francischetti a little upset, and Petrenko apparently back there.
Lou Francischetti doing what he does best, causing it. We spoke earlier, Ron, you mentioned how they're a little bit surprised that Washington could Zarnak scored the 6th goal for the Soviets. Played very well. He's been that line from Dynamo Riga, Varyanov and Shashov have been a factor. Tom Fergus, a goal and at least 2 assists, one for the 7th Soviet goal. But in the meantime, this game is not that little scuffle after the play there. We have not seen much physical intensity. We saw a lot more of that in the Vancouver Red Army game on Friday evening.
There's a quick shot right off the faceoff from Dom Pus. And again, the Soviets with Bolshakov. He's stopped. Now back comes Wendell Clark. Semyonov unable to contain that puck. Now Dorofeyev. Dorofeyev over the line is checked away from him. Marwa coming back, did a good job on that play. Puck cleared to the line, kept in there. Semyonov turning. And shot behind the net. LaForest is out, and he leaves it for Richardson. Richardson of the Leafs. Ramage shooting it in. Carpin just knocking that out of midair. Clark is in there to check, but does not control the puck as Semyonov brings it through center ice. Now Semyonov with that great shot, and he shot it right at LaForest. Semyonov again keeping it in near the boards. Frolov tried to roll it in front. Richardson intercepted that. Out to center ice now. Here's Kordic. Kordic to Clark. Clark trying to get it back to Kordic. And again, the defense tightened up. Tatarinov that time. And back they come. Tatarinov getting in on the play from the offense. And Kordic threw the best check of the night on his teammate Dave Reed. Kordic leveled Reed. Fans a buzz with that one. Puck is cleared in front of the net. There's a big save off Reed, who recovered from the check to get down the ice. And Carpin very alert.
The thing is, the Leafs may have found an answer. They've got one of their best offensive opportunities in the 3rd period after Kordic drilled one of his own players. Kordic's going to come in. Dave Reed is a little reaching for the puck. Oh, my goodness. And the Leafs continue up ice and get a real good offensive chance. So we have now created a new way for the Leafs to get a chance here in the third period. John Kordic leveling his own teammate in the middle of the ice. It's interesting to note that the fans continue to stay here with 4 minutes left to play, and their team down by 3, so they continue to feel that the Leafs can still come back.
Foreground there, you see Lou Franciscetti. He's been known to do that himself, run into his own teammates when he was with the Washington Capitals.
He ran into me a couple times, and he runs into people. There's no doubt about that.
Did you win? That center ice Antipov, but he can't hold it. Here's McIntyre over for Kordic. Kordic, McIntyre in front, and there's in front again. This time a chance for Reed, and again he just didn't get the good wood on it. Now over the line for the Soviets is Yashin. He's stripped of the puck by Iafrate. Iafrate with one of those rushes of his, but this time he zigged when he should have zagged and lost the puck. Back come the Soviets with Leonov. Leonov leaving it for Yashin. Yashin's check. Here's Iafrate again. Little backhand pass for Lehman. He's heading for the bench on a change. And Curran has got it. 3:09 left. Curran backhanding it in. Kulchuk up along the boards. Leonov. Semak shot. That's blocked at the defense. Lomakin. That pass went right through the legs of Leonov. Here's a lead pass. Osborne going in now with some room. The rebound. Olczyk backhander. Right on. Loose puck at the goal mouth. And it's cleared out of harm's way by the defense. Curran deep in his own zone with 2:35 left. 7-4. Soviets lead. Curran to Lehman. Lehman ahead for Osborne. Olczyk offside on the far side. Well, some good scoring chances. The Leafs know how to apply the pressure, but they haven't been able to beat Carpenter, who I didn't think looked that strong in the early going of this hockey game, but has come on a bit.
Well, the play starts. Tom Kurvers makes a good long ice pass and hits Osborne. Osborne goes to the net, and Olczyk gets a chance as Doug Carpenter figuring. The thing that's interesting, if the Leafs approach this game as like a practice game and something, you would think that he would like to see signs that they're working on things that they need to work on in their own end of the ice. We haven't seen that. So then obviously they haven't approached it like a practice, or I would like to see their practices to see what they do work on, because they just don't. Tonight I haven't seen enough evidence that they're really concentrating on their own end of the ice to get going in the Norris division after this game.
Ramage ahead for Fergus. Fergus in front. Franciscetti couldn't hold that puck, and the whistle goes. And there's going to be a penalty called here with 2:24 left in regulation time. Be Fergus facing off against Semak. There was an offside on the play. Richardson takes a shot, steered in up against the glass, and we'll get a face-off.
Puck directed just over the glass, as opposed to Carpenter. Looks like he handles the puck a little bit better as we take a look at John Ziegler. Interesting that he suggested where we were heading with international hockey with parallel leagues, but I'm just not quite sure what was going to happen then, whether he was suggesting then that maybe we will have a champion from the NHL and a champion from the Soviet League playing for some sort of championship of the world, but we didn't quite get him to the point of where we go after we establish a parallel league.
He may not know himself. This is an area of rather deep water, I think. Starting out of his own zone is Shashov. Shashov tried to get the pass away, but it was intercepted by Ramage. He sends it back down into the Soviet zone, and now it's cleared all the way back down the ice again. Rolling down to LaForest, who sends it up for Ramage. Ramage at center ice to Fergus. Fergus was checked and is back inside the line again. Richardson chopping it along the boards. Stopped on the play. Now the Soviets again with some pressure. Zanark taking a shot. Behind the net, Franciscetti. Center ice again. 1:24 left in regulation time here. I'd say left in the game. Zanark bouncing that pass through. Tatarinov pinching in. Put it to the side of the net. Soviets keeping control now deep in the Toronto zone. Fergus now finally gets a little bit of skating room. Gets it out to center ice, only to be double teamed out there. Tatarinov spins. Gets it in over the line, but Fergus is there again with less than a minute remaining. Fergus has lost his stick. It's broken. Pearson can't get out of the zone. There's a shot. Back now it comes for Shashov. Shashov behind the net, tried to shoot it in. There's another shot. It rode up and into the net, but the whistle had gone. It had rode up on the chest protector of LaForest. The referee had lost sight of it, blew the whistle. The puck dribbled in over the line, so there's no goal on the play.
Again, as we take a look at Petrenko, 21-year-old Soviet player, third year with Dynamo Moscow. Meantime, sloppy play here late in the game. I think the Leafs are just content to get this one over with and go on to whatever New Year's celebration they've got planned. The Soviets, I believe they head to Buffalo from here, this particular team.
Well, the Leafs in the middle of a very busy part of their schedule. They played a lot of road games already, and they've had some pretty big road trips early in the season. They're hoping things will get a little easier for them later on. 43 seconds remaining. There's a shot deflected over top of the net. That one came in from Uden. And here's Wendell Clark now breaking out. Clark hitting the line. Uden checking on him. He got around Uden, tried to throw it into the slot for Tom Foose. And Clark wound up behind the net with the puck underneath him. Clark a little slow getting up. And you always worry with Wendell Clark about the back. He was out part of November with a knee injury, and Wendell, who knows only one way to play hockey, is favoring, I would think, his back a little bit.
Well, he's the type of guy, you know, Ron, is you always hope that you have to tone a guy down, you know, as opposed to you got to push him all the time and push him. And sometimes that goes to a detriment to Wendell Clark, because he will put himself in situations that we're going to see him just fall into the corner. Actually, it looks like probably his knee. I know he was favoring his knee. He did miss 8 games during in November. But again, he's a fellow that really has to be, you know, kept under wraps, because when he gets out there, he only knows one way to play, and that's all out, and that's the way he is most effective.
On the face-off, off the boards it goes, and in the center ice zone, Gill gives to Iafrate. Iafrate back to Gill with 18 seconds remaining. It's Iafrate. Iafrate, one last rush here. The Soviets leading 7-4. It's Reed over the line. Reed getting it to Tom Foose, who shot it over top of the net. And up into the crowd. 7 seconds remaining. Well, the one thing, the Leafs are offensively quite creative. They were there again, and we've seen many of those plays in this game, but the 7 they've given up is the bad number.
Tom Foose is just going to head to the net, but they do that. I mean, they've got offensive confidence, I think, is probably the key here. They know they can score goals, and consequently, Tom Foose is going to head to the net because he's got a good chance and a good feeling he's going to get the puck.
On the face-off, there's a play, a shot that's wide of the net, and the game is over. The final score, Dynamo Moscow 7, Toronto Maple Leafs 4. We'll return with our Molson Most Valuable Player announcement after this.